Hi everyone, and welcome to another video from Class 47 Peter. And today I'm going to be doing a behind the scenes video. Now, I did one last year on how I make my model railway videos. This video is going to be a behind the scenes video on how I make my review videos. I know it's taken a while to put this video out, and do excuse the lights flickering, they seem to be playing up. But yeah, it's taken a while to get to this video, but that's because I've been uploading other videos and filming other videos. So I've been giving them priority over this one. But anyway, so this video is here now, so sit back and enjoy this whistle-stop tour of sorts on how I make my review videos. Now, when it comes to my review videos, I always review a new locomotive. Not just a new locomotive as in a new release, but a new locomotive to my collection. There have been one or two videos I've done in the past of locomotives I already had in my collection, but it's mostly locomotives that are new to my collection that I tend to review, and the reason why that is because it's my way of introducing the models to the channel. Right, so before I go into filming a review, I unbox a model from the parcel. Now, I don't normally tend to do this in my review videos where I show me opening up from the parcel. I have done it in the past, but not so much nowadays, although if you go on the Instagram and the Facebook page, you will see photos of the parcel and the models unboxed from it on those pages. So what we're going to do now, we're going to open up this parcel, which I'm going to do for the sake of the video, because it's all part of what goes on behind the scenes, this is, at the end of the day. So just take out this bubble wrap. And there we have the model. It's just arrived in the post. So once I've unboxed the parcel, I can then go on to the preparations of the video itself. Now, I always film my review videos on this workbench, but before I do that, I tend to clear away the majority of the items off this workbench. So first of all, we have some boxes here of these flowers, which are plastic kits. These ones have been built. I've yet to build these two, but we'll put those to one side. Then we have these two Hornby Lomax, which I'm going to work on wagon loads for them, although not yet, because I've got an idea for these first for a video before I do that. So I'll put those to one side. Then I might perhaps clear away a few other items off here. And then once I'm happy with it, I then put the model down on the workbench, so then I can start filming. Now, when it comes to filming the unboxing of these reviews, I use the tripod. Now, I can't film setting up the tripod because whilst there is a second camera I can use, there isn't a second tripod to use, which I'd have to use for that to film it, so you will have to bear with me. But for the unboxing, what I do is I use the tripod. So I have the tripod set up, and I always have it here, as you can see, just in front of the workbench. And I have all the legs raised on it to get the best view as possible of the model on the workbench. Now, when I first put the camera on the tripod, this is how it first appears on the camera. You've got this gap here showing all the stuff under the workbench. So what I tend to do is I tend to zoom in a bit, about up to there, in this case, just to show you. So I'll do that to simply get rid of what's underneath here, so it looks a bit neater. And then once I've done that, I then go into the unboxing itself of the video. So first of all, when it comes to film my videos, I always introduce myself, and then I tell you what model I'm unboxing for the video. And I will give you a little bit of a talk about the model before we go into the unboxing. So when we do go into the unboxing, what I'll do is on camera I will unbox the model. And then I will talk about the packaging, about the design of the box, In this case it's a very nice firm sturdy box, so I will mention that as well. I'll also mention the information on the end of the box, and perhaps even talk about the product code, etc. Then when we come on to the instructions, I will talk about those as well. So I'll open them up and I'll talk about what's mentioned in the instructions. So for example, it mentions about handling the locomotive and the operating instructions, so that basically means running in. I'll also mention the warranty information as well and talk about how to fit a decoder and fitting digital sound, fitting detail parts, lubrication, etc. And then once I've done that, I'll put the instructions to one side. And then off camera, what I'll do is I'll put the instruction manuals into a folder. Now I do have 3 folders. One I put certificates in, and I have 2 folders for my instruction manuals. One I use mainly for Hornby models, and perhaps a few others like DJ models, etc. And the other one I use for Batman models. So what I'll do is I'll open the folder and I'll look for an empty plastic wallet, which in this case is right at the back of the folder. There's actually several at the back here. Then what I'll do is I'll get the instruction manual, and then I'll put the instruction manual into the plastic wallet. This is not something I do on camera now during the reviews, but this is still a behind the scenes, and I thought it was worthy mentioning this as well. And I basically keep all my instructions in here as a reference, basically, so I know where to go back to them if I need to, and I know where to find them then. So then once I put the instruction manuals in the folder, I can then put the folder away. Then we go back onto filming the review. So once I've put the instruction manuals away, I'll then go back to the unboxing. So I'll remove the model from the box. And then we'll put the packaging to one side. Now in the case with this packaging, because it's a small box, I can put it down on top of the workbench. But if it's a longer box, like if it's a tender loco or a diesel loco that's got a long box, because there's not much room to put it on here without it being in the way, what I tend to do is I'll tend to throw it down onto the floor there. But the box doesn't get damaged, and then what I'll basically do is just simply put everything back in the box, and I'll put the box to one side anyway. But anyway, so we'll finish off the unboxing here by removing the outer plastic sleeve. And then we go on to the detail parts, and this is the point where we talk about the detail parts. Now what to do at this point is I take the camera off the tripod, put the detail parts down, and I'll then get a close-up shot of the detail pack. And then I'll turn the camera and I'll say, in this detail pack we get, and then I'll turn the camera off. And then I'll use a Stanley knife to open up the detail bag. And then having done that, I'll just simply empty the contents out of the bag, like so. And then I'll get each detail part and I'll bring them into shots, and I'll get a close-up shot of them. So for example, we have these chain link couplings, and I'll get a close-up shot of them, like for example here, turn the camera on, and I'll say we get a couple of chain link couplings, and I'll do the same for these detail parts here, which are brake pipes, and I'll get a close-up shot of those, and I'll turn the camera on, and then I'll say we get a couple of brake pipes, and again I'll get a close-up shot of it. And then, once I've done that, I'll put the detail parts back in the bag, and I'll put the detail bag to one side. So once we looked at the detail parts, I'll then finish off the unboxing of the model. And I will remove the loco from the packaging. And then I'll put the packaging to one side. So, in this case, I'll just simply take the loco out of this cellophane sheet, and I'll put that away in the bin, because I don't tend to use it again. But then off camera, what I'll do is I'll pack everything away together and do it very neatly, just like how I'm doing it here on camera. and then the box goes to one side. Well, the empty box does anyway. And then that leaves us to look at the model in detail. Now for this point we're not going to need the tripod again, because when it comes to covering the loco and the detail parts we don't need the tripod really. I might still keep the tripod out in case I do need it, for example if it comes to like covering the removable coal load if the model has one, and I will sometimes use the tripod to demonstrate the coal load being removable by just simply having the camera on the tripod to do it. But sometimes I might not use the tripod for that, I might just put the camera flat on the workbench. But we're not going to need the tripod now, so what I'll do is I'll put it back. So I'll put it there. Sometimes I might put it there or I might put it there, it doesn't matter where I put it either way. Now at this point, for covering the loco in detail, I'll get close-up shots. So first of all, as usually in my reviews, I'll talk about how heavy the model is. So I'll get a close-up shot of the model, like for example here, and I'll turn the camera on, and I'll talk about how heavy the model is and what the weight is in it. So in this case it's a very heavy model, so there'll be no problems with traction, so this will be able to pull quite a load behind it. Then once I've covered the weight and the loco, I'll then move on to the detail. So usually I'll talk about the buffers. So if the buffers are sprung, I will demonstrate this by putting the camera down flat here on the workbench, and I'll demonstrate the buffers being sprung by just simply pressing them basically, like so. And bit of a fun fact for you here, I only tend to mess about with the sprung buffers like this when it's a review, so I only tend to fiddle about with the buffers for the sake of review purposes, to be honest. And then what I'll do is I'll move the camera around on the model and talk about each detail part. So for example here we have separately fitted handrails. Sometimes I might get moving shots. Now this loco doesn't have any lining on the running plate, but let's just imagine it does, and so for that I'll just simply run the camera along to show the lining going all the way across the running plate, or to cover a specific detail. Sometimes I might even do it if there's pipe work on the locomotive. Then once I've basically done that and covered the model in detail, I'll then simply talk about the livery. So for that shot I'll simply get a full shot of the model on camera, usually a side-on shot like this, and I'll talk about the livery, which is very nice and evenly applied, and it's a beautiful livery as well, this. So I'll talk about things like that, and I'll also say things like the lining on this model, how it's beautifully been printed on and very nice and crisp. And for me the lining lifts the livery and it makes it stand out, and so I'll talk about things like that as well. Then once I've done that, I'll turn the loco to the other side and I'll cover the detail on that side. Usually if there's detail differences I'll tend to do that. And I do that because it's, well, part of the review, and I like to simply cover the detail differences on both sides of the model, should it have any. Now once we've covered the detail of the model, we'll then go on to the running performance. So off camera what I'll do is I'll put the model onto the track, I'll turn the power on, and then we'll get it running. And then what I'll do is I'll take a load of close-up shots of the model running. So for example I'll put the camera down here, turn it on, and then I'll say we've now come on to the running performance, and as you can see the model is running smoothly straight from the box. And again I do apologise for the lights flickering and turning off and on. Then I'll put the camera down on another part of the layout, and then I'll talk about the fact that the model is running how it should straight out of the box, nice and smooth, with no grinding noises or motors burning out or anything of the sort. And then what I'll do is I'll get lots of different shots of the model running around the layout in various different places on the layout, in different locations, etc. then basically what I'll do is I'll let the model run in for a while once I've got the shots that I want and I'm happy with them. So once we've filmed the running performance of the model and let the model run in, we then come on to the loaded test run. So for this what I do is I'll get a train ready for the model. So if it's wagons, I might go into, for example, either this drawer or even this drawer, or fetch them out of these two drawers up here. If it's coaches, I might go in one of these drawers here, for example this one. But there's also these wagons here, so for this loaded test run of this loco, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get some of these wagons you see here in the sidings coupled up behind the loco. So once I've got a train behind the locomotive, whether it's wagons or coaches, what I then do is I get it running around the layout. And I do exactly the same thing as I did with the run performance. I put the camera down various locations of the layout, and then I say, for example here, we now come on to the loaded test run, which we have the model pulling 9 wagons plus a breakdown. And then I'll talk about how the model can manage either the wagons or the coaches with ease. In this case, this model is pulling 9 wagons plus a breakdown, as I've already said, and she manages them perfectly, with no problems. And then what I'll do is I'll get lots of shots of the loco running around on the layout, pulling the train, just like I did with the running performance, and choose various different locations. And for the last 2 or 3 shots of the loco running around the layout pulling the train, I'll then give my overall conclusion for the model. In this case, the model is a stunning model, and I'll definitely recommend you buy it. And there'll be 2 shots where I'll give my overall conclusion for the model, telling you how stunning it is, or whatever. Now for the end of the review, what I do is I'll then drive the model up very slowly up to the camera, which is always on this line, just in this section here. Sometimes the camera might be placed further back slightly. And I'll stop the model in front of the camera, and then I'll say, so overall I rate the model, whatever it is, and then I'll give the score that I'm going to give for the model. In this case I'm going to give the model a 10 out of 10, and then I'll sign off for the video. So then I'll say this has been Class 47 Peter reviewing such and such model, and I'll tell you to subscribe to the channel and check out my other content, and then I'll say my goodbyes. And then that is the review filmed. That's basically the filming of the review finished. So once I've filmed all the footage for the review and I'm happy with it, I'll then put it onto the computer. Now I obviously can't show you me putting the footage onto the computer, obviously, because I'm having to film with this camera. Bear in mind I don't have software like Bandicam or Fraps or anything like that, so I'm having to film it on camera. But what I do is I create a new folder. First I open up my pictures, which I've done just then, which I did off camera, and I create a new folder, and I'll just call this one demo because I'm just demonstrating how I do this basically. So there's the new folder, and so what I do is just basically take everything off this camera and put it onto the folder, and I can just simply plug this camera straight into the computer here because it has a built-in USB socket. Then when I've put the footage off my camera onto a document on the computer, I then open up my editing software, which is Serif Movie Plus X3. So then when I've opened up my editing software, I will then start editing the review together. Now what I tend to do for the opening of the video is I'll either use pictures of the models, or if I have footage of my own of the real locomotives, I'll tend to use that. In this case we're going to use a picture. Now for the text at the beginning, what I have to do is I then click on, I'm on timeline mode at the moment, so if I click on to switch to storyboard mode, I'll then click add caption, and I'll just put something random in. And then it basically gets this captions tab here. So then what I'll do is I'll then delete that, and then put that back in on the video track, that picture or video footage, whichever I choose to use. Then I'll click into text clip and I'll put that into the captions there at the top. And then I'll put in the title for the video. So for example we'll put Andrew Barclays. But obviously I've just put that in just to simply show you how I do it. And then I'll choose a different style of font. So I'm just going to choose a random format of font. So I think we'll choose that. And then what I'll do is actually put some animation on the text. So for the text I'm going to choose Ghost. So that's the in animation, and I'll choose the out animation, which will choose Slide. And that's basically what we get. And then once I've done that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to shorten this down to size. That's what I normally do for the video. And then what I'll do is I'll then start importing the footage to edit together. Now for this I'm just going to simply bung just a few odd clips together. I'm not going to edit the whole video on screen, obviously. So then when I've imported the clips, I then just start editing it together. So then once I've got all the clips in, I'll then put in the text at the end to show the scoreboard on the screen. So here's the last clip of that video to show you how I just simply put it in. So what I'll do is I will play the footage to know where I've got to put it. So overall I'm going to rate the Hatton's Andrew Barclay L4Os, and so I'll just stop it there. And I insert text clip, which is what I click on. and I'll put in the score that I gave the models into the box there. And what I do is, every time I rate a model 10 out of 10, I will put a glow effect in for the text. So we'll go to animation there. For animation we'll have glow, and we'll choose glow yellow. Then we'll do the same for the out animation. 10 out of 10. But obviously to do that, then I will put that clip into where it says captions there at the top, so it's on screen in the video, so it doesn't just fade to black as you just saw. This has been Class 47 Peter with a double review, reviewing both of these. So that's basically just how the animation then works for that glow. And so what I do then, once I've finished editing the review, what I then do is I then go to pictures, and I then add in the black background effect, so the video at the end fades to black. So at the end of the video I'll put in the fade to blacking effect, and then I'll put in the end slate at the end, which is that footage you see at the end. And then basically what I do in YouTube, once I've finished uploading the video, I'll use the end annotation feature. So 2 videos from my channel will pop up on screen, so just simply click on them and then you can watch them, basically. And I've already got this end slate footage already added, but what I do is I shorten it down like that. And so then what I do is I then go to File, Export Movie, I'll click on, then click on File, Windows Media Audio and Video, WMV, that's what I then choose next, and then you get this that comes up. So I click on widescreen, broadband widescreen is what I choose, then HDV. HDV 720-25p is what I choose. Then I click on Finish, and then I just simply press Save, and then that exports the video. Which obviously I'm not going to do in this video, I'm not going to simply export the video, but that's basically what I do. And then once that's finished, I then upload it to YouTube. So that's all there is to how I edit my review videos and how I make them. It is a lot of hard work to do them, but I'm sure you'll agree that the end results are most definitely worth it. So that brings us on to an end of this video. I hope you've enjoyed watching it and learned how I make my review videos. Thanks for watching. Do subscribe to the channel and check out my other content, and don't ever stop supporting the channel. Please do continue to support me. Thank you to those who do. And I'll see you again for the next video. But until then, stay safe and take care.